And Iran hates Israel. Its president says he wants to wipe Israel off the map. And it's no secret that Israel is taking him very seriously. Israel is considering a preemptive strike on Iran. And now some of Israel's plans are showing up on the internet. Who's leaking that and why? Ambassador John Bolton accuses the Obama administration, and he joins us. Is that fair? You say that the leakers are the Obama administration?
Well, it's reported in foreignpolicy.com, a magazine site, interviewing several administration sources, that Israel has a deal with the country of Azerbaijan right on Iran's northern border to use Azeri airfields to attack the Iranian nuclear weapons program. I do think that's part of a concerted effort by the Obama administration to try and pressure Israel publicly not to attack. It began when Defense Secretary Panetta, 2 months ago now, said that Israel's likely time frame was April through June. And I think that's the Obama administration recognizes its private efforts to pressure Israel have probably failed, and this is a way of doing it publicly.
Well, there were lots of reports about 2 months ago about how this was the impossible military project for the Israelis because it was too hard to get their F-15s all the way to the sites and get back to Israel. That was the first sort of things that with the PR we read. Now, if they had bases in Azerbaijan, they would actually have staging places to refuel, and the distance would be much shorter. It's a much more appealing military effort, and now this is out.
Well, honestly, I hadn't wanted to talk about a lot of the possibilities here. There are so many experts who are just so convinced Israel doesn't have the capability. Being able to stage out of Azerbaijan is a game changer, and one would expect that the Iranians were not planning on that possibility in their defensive preparations. So that's why leaking this information is not just pressure on Israel. In effect, it's giving the information to Iran and the rest of the world at the same time. And I very much expect that if Israel doesn't bend its knee to the Obama administration here, they will leak other information.
Wouldn't that have been obvious, though, to Iran? Because Azerbaijan has had a relationship, an economic relationship with Israel. They buy a lot of their military hardware from Israel. Wouldn't that have been sort of predictable, so this is not such a big surprise?
Well, Azerbaijan is a Muslim country. There are a lot of Azeris in Iran. About 20% plus of the population of Iran is ethnic Azeri. So I think that the Iranians actually would be quite surprised that Israel was able to build enough of a relationship to be able to gain access rights to bases to attack a neighboring country. That's an active war being carried out from Azerbaijan. So whether they thought of the possibility or not, I don't know, but now it's out there in public if it's accurate.
Iran is predominantly Shiite Muslim.
Right.
Azerbaijan also has a substantial Shiite Muslim population.
Right.
So why would Azerbaijan be friendlier with Israel than Iran, sort of historically? Why would they be chummy?
Well, I think there's at least some tension, obviously, between the ethnic Azeris in Iran and the slight majority, 50% part of the Persian population. I think Israel may have been exploiting that, and I think the Israeli weapons are a very attractive buy for a country like Azerbaijan that's worried not only about Iran, but worried about Russia, with Vladimir Putin coming back into office trying to reassert Russian hegemony in the space of the former Soviet Union.
All right, so if this window of Israel is between now and sometime in June, when they would do their military strike, then you've got the president we have sanctions. He has cranked up the sanctions on Iran. However, the State Department is giving a little leeway to Japan and South Korea and India, and some of the European nations are getting a little bit of a pass. It seems like President Obama thinks that timeline is a lot longer if he's allowing the sanctions to have leaks than the Israelis do.
Well, this sanctions policy by the administration is more blue smoke and mirrors than substance. I think the president's more worried about the effect of the sanctions on gas prices at the pump in America than he is worried about pressuring Iran. And I think it's his political future that's most on top of his mind. I think actually he worries more about an Israeli strike than he does about Iran getting nuclear weapons.
What do you make of the president's latest statement, sort of whispering that we caught on mic with Russia? In which he said that after the election to have more flexibility?
Well, I think it's reprehensible. It's all about him. It's not about, look, our country's interests dictate that we postpone negotiations over this issue or that issue. It's give me a little space, and I'll be more flexible toward you once the election is over. Now, he doesn't need the flexibility to be tougher on Russia. He needs it to be able to give more away. I think that's something, to me, it's a fire bell in the night that voters really need to consider. If he does it with Medvedev here, who else is he doing it with?
Well, he's going to have a new person to deal with very shortly, a new President Putin, so we'll see what happens with that. Ambassador, thank you, sir.